So welcome everyone to this plenary talk, the second plenary talk by Dr. Narayan Panigrahi, and the title is Building Super Intelligence Through Transfer Learning. So it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Narayan Panigrahi to the audience today. He received his PhD from IIT Bombay and MTech from IIT Kharagpur, and then MSc in Computer Science from JK Institute of Applied Physics and Technology, University of Allahabad. And so PhD he got in 2012, MTech in 1999, and then MSc in 1991. So so lot of recognition for his work. He is the recipient of Government's Gold Medal and Best Graduate of Behrampur University in Odisha, and he has authored 58 research papers in peer-reviewed international journals and conferences. He is inventor on 6 Indian patents, and he has authored 6 books in the field of geographical information science and system. The books entitled Geographical Information Science and Computations in GIS are some of his noteworthy academic work in the academic curriculum worldwide. He is a keynote speaker at many national and international conferences. He received Best Research Paper Award by INRIA France. He received the DRDO Technology Award several times, in 2005 and in 2012, Excellence Award again in 2009. At present, he is with the Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics. It's a DRDO lab in Bangalore, India. He led a team of scientists to design and develop a geographical information system indigenously, which has resulted in a transfer of technology to BEL Bangalore, basically integrating the system and variously indigenously developed technologies. Let's give a big warm welcome to Dr. Narayan Panigrahi.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the introduction, so that the audience will be a bit enthused to listen to me for this illustrious introduction of mine. Well, without loss of time, I am sorry that I couldn't make it to the venue. I was originally supposed to be there in Naiduragala to have this August gathering and this nice conference organized by, I hope, Professor Satya Mahanti and Dr. Mahapatra somewhere around. Well, the topic that I was to share with you all for a digital transformation of all of you, those who are listening to me, is about transfer learning, and that to acquire super intelligence in machine. I will give a initial definition of what is AI and how AI is perceived. Then the review of progress of AI and how machine learning is enabling artificial intelligence systems. Some of the AI tools of machine learning, different applications of machine learning, and transfer learning, super intelligence, some defense use cases that I would like to say that we are pursuing and we have done some research on. And for the benefit of the student community, I would like to delve into some of the research problems that is open, and some of the research problems which are yet nascent and yet to be solved within our country, and for the benefit of both for the defense and civilian community. Therefore, to define artificial intelligence, a narrow definition will be a branch of computing science to build machines and systems which are capable of intelligent behavior. I will say so a very narrow definition of AI is a branch of computing science. But if I just extrapolate on that, artificial intelligence is about designing of algorithms enabled or constrained exposed by representation that supports models, targeted at thinking, perception and action. Please highlight the word, the models. So we need to build models through algorithms which can perceive, think and act. So it is not a traditional algorithm programming. Therefore, artificial intelligence has grown to probably incorporating thinking, perception and action in algorithms. More interdisciplinary, therefore, which earlier was thought of as a single monolithic branch of computing science, is an interdisciplinary subject to impart ability to machines to learn rather than program explicitly. Mark my word, machines to learn rather than program explicitly. So machine learning comes into being. And what does machine learn? The machine learn about all possible data, all possible events, all possible behavior and actions is the outcome. In that sense, artificial intelligence is rather different than that of traditional input processing and output model, where the cardinality of the input domain is preserved or set as the benchmark, and the processing is purely algorithm which acts upon that input domain, and the output range is very, very predictable. Therefore, artificial intelligence in that sense is altogether different than that of the traditional programming, traditional automation of systems. Delving into the genesis of and history of how AI has emerged and how it is interdisciplinary and collaborative in nature, I go back to the famous Turing test in seminal Turing test by Alan Turing in 1950, how whether a machine can mimic a human system. Thereafter, there was a summer school, like we are holding a ITT conference today in NIT Rourkela. There was a summer school in Dartmouth College of Hanover, where people from mathematics, physics, computing, taken as computing subject, and psychology, sat together for about 50 days in 1956, and that was headed by John McCarthy. You can say he is the originator of the word artificial intelligence. Therefore, the genesis AI came in 1956. But directly after that, people thought, yes, it is a theoretical thing. We may not be able to realize many systems. So during 1960 to 1970, rather than some papers, academic exercises, there were not much systems. Therefore, we can say that there is not much research in AI during 60-70. So it is known as winter of AI. But during 19 to 2000, spring came. People started making utilize in some devices, predictable systems, some amount of AI. Then domain-specific AI came into being. The domain-specific AI is you all must be using smartphones, is being used in the intelligent search machines of Google in the form of ID5 algorithm and many such. So intelligent search engines were the first, some of the domain-specific AI capability. Then the online portals suggesting the perspective bias what to procure. Then suggestion for turbine maintenance. When the aircraft moves from maybe Los Angeles to New Delhi without any interruption, continuous running for 48 hours and for months together, how do a human engineer predict when it requires maintenance? Then AI can think, yes, this is time where this aircraft requires a maintenance. Then medical data diagnostics. As you know, famous Dr. Watson, it's almost equivalent to about 200 cancer specialists who can predict from minimum amount of the data obtained from patient whether the patient is having cancer, early stage or not. A true positive of 99.99. and elimination of almost zero possibility of making false diagnosis. Of course, the credit ratings, the customer profiling, face recognition, anomaly detection, most of this kind of domain-specific AI we are using from day-to-day life to smartphones, to calls, to mails, and to various systems that we interact in digital domain. Therefore, to have a platform for super intelligence, a machine need to be taught rather than explicitly programmed. And which are the tools? The tools or the buzzwords are machine learning, artificial neural network, one way of possibly achieving machine learning, unsupervised learning, supervised learning, convoluted neural network, deep learning, and transfer learning, and finally we can have a super artificial intelligence system which probably think and mimic like a experienced human being. Therefore, I will go into each of these boxes, explaining them in a manner that I have pursued and studied. Therefore, if I define AI, it is a collaborative field of emerging field of science, technology, systems, predictive analytics, machine learning to deep learning, transfer learning, translation, machine translation, classification and clustering, information extraction, how to convert speech to text that I am speaking. Then I isolated each of my speech into the text that is being done, that I am expressing. Is it possible in real time? Well, I can probably create a 1 hour talk and all the words that I utter and find out which is the highest word I can speak. Is it challenge? Then somebody can detect by listening about 3 seconds person can identify the speaker. Yes, very possible. So text to speech, speech to text, then the planning and scheduling systems, optimization systems, robotics, image recognition, machine vision, and all these techniques and tools and systems put together make this collaborative field of artificial intelligence which we are pursuing today in various systems, various organizations and academics to be precise. Therefore, how will human learn? This picture says that we assimilate most of our information through our sensory organs like eye, perceiving the environment, the ears listening to 20 to 20,000 hertz, the eye perceiving from probably infrared to ultraviolet, the small zone of influence, the nose, the mouth, and our other sensory organs like skin and all. We perceive the environment, events, data continuously and make the observation of the environment that is possible. And then we do a reasoning. And we act as a task. So that's how humans learn. But a small kid, when he comes to the world, nascent kid, probably perceive through this way, they are turned to a unsupervised manner that it becomes a hazardous element like fire, water. Mother says, no, this is fire, this is hazard. So there's some amount of supervision under mom, dad, and environment, he starts learning. He starts gathering. Each time he is hungry, cries, the moment mom comes, feeds her. So he recognizes the face of the mother. So each time the mother comes, the kid stops crying. So it's a way of unsupervised learning. The kid starts learning who is the mother. If I feel hungry, who will give me food? Who is the face which is mother? Then small toys. What are the colors? All those things in an unsupervised manner, the kid starts learning. When it starts crawling, find out which is uneven surface, which is having slope, where it will fall. All those things is part of unsupervised learning through various sensory organs. But the moment we put them into kindergarten schools, and methodology of teacher, then it starts provision. A for apple, B for ball, A for apple. It's all under supervision of a teacher. So the neural network which constitutes a kid which is recently I will come to the world will have 10 million neurons, which I have just given a graphic depiction of a neural network, where the center is this itself is a neuron. It has access to dendrites, a cell body, synapses, axons, and it is interconnected through other neurons. And a typical small kid, nascently born, will have a 10 million neurons interconnected in a different manner. Now, a neural network or machine learning is about how do we put these networks with more weight so that we can perceive, act, and our cognition system develops. Therefore, this is a 3D model of a neuron. Somewhere 3D science has come out with. This is how probably in the brain and the cortex part of our brain, a 3D model, a geometric model has been perceived, and these are all interconnected in our brain. A highly interconnected neuron in a person is a highly intelligent and reasonable person probably. And if a person is very good at mathematics or very good at interpreting upon how particular neuron react to a particular domain. So therefore, this is how a neural Hawkian, the first model, mathematical model of a neural network, he came with a very simplistic approach of this is how the neural network probably. And therefore, when the inputs should come as a set of discrete values, which is known as a feature vector. The feature vector of I have just shown 1 to 4. So, an array of 4 elements or 4 values or 4 related values which describe a particular object which is feed to the neural network, and then after that chemical reaction and after that they excite the next layer, and depending upon the logic, hidden layer logic, they excite something to come out with an output. So this is how a artificial neural network is modeled. But presently, the kind of neural, probably that's a graphic depiction of a human neural network. If somebody is good at mathematics, you can see some neurons are big. With 8 of those synapses, dendrites are bit more, and even some dendrites and synaptics are not interconnected to another layer. The visual cortex layer is not well connected. So probably this is a way I can express a neural network and how it exists in human mind. And if you put a person is good at sports, very nice in physics also, and he can solve mathematics for 100 out of 100, probably the multidisciplinary talented person will have a neural network which is therefore the neurons are of different colors. I hope I am audible. Audible? Maybe somebody can give me a feedback whether I am audible or not.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Very good. Therefore, a neural network with a person having multiple domain expertise. Earlier I showed this is a probably a neural network of a person who is having a specific domain knowledge with some generic, of course. He can survive, he can do everything, but some neurons which are high, is good at a particular domain. But the next, when you see some different colors, some are big, some are small. So I can say that he is particularly a professor in mathematics, having red dots which are very prominent. So he can probably solve best of the mathematical problem, he can take research, and yet can play a very good cricket because of some blue dots are there, and yet can be a very good social connector. So that is how a neural network of a well-developed person with multiple domain expertise can look like. This is basically a graphic representation of a theoretical model of a brain. Therefore, machine learning, which is core to neural network, can be domain-specific learning, like somebody who is not good at mathematics, their parents put mathematics tuition. So he is being taught mathematics tuition very rigorously. At the end, he has to get 90% cut up. Means those neurons have become now very bigger, and those synaptic dendrites have become bigger. Therefore, domain-specific learning through supervised learning, because he is undergoing classroom teaching, then again tutorials, then again through a particular way of learning through internet mathematics. So that is supervised learning. And he is giving an exam, and each time exam he gets a mark and validate whether he is okay or not, improving or not. Is all about supervised learning technique. Then comes the multi-layer perceptual network with feedback. Multi-level, I can tell you very clearly, somebody is not good at calculus but not good at geometry. So probably typically gives an examination of mathematics with all the subjects and comes up with the mark he is getting low in geometry. Probably now you start, take the feedback and start doing more geometry, visualize more geometry, solve more geometrical problems. Then those things come back. This is about feedback. So the teacher gives a feedback, oh, this is where in the geometry, in non-Euclidean geometry, you are not at probably. And thereafter you find that, okay, I am very good at geometry, very good at computational geometry or maybe differential calculus. You simply given a problem, you are able to answer it. Means you are no more requiring rigorous answer solving it. It is about tunneling of your neural network. If you see the problem, you can give an answer. Okay, then comes the reinforcement learning during exam. Like reinforcement learning is the kid is told that yes, A for apple. Yeah, so he will not tell A for aristocracy, A for something else. He will tell only A for apple. Therefore, he has to be reinforced. So, few kids say, when you show apple also they will say A. So, that's how reinforcement happens. Therefore, how the progress of different machine learning techniques has gone ahead is about Hubbian learning. The first simplest neural network will learn, appreciate and trust of the certain machine. So, one data point. Then comes the supervised learning. Learn a function, not a traditional function, a optimization function that maps input vector to a output vector. So how do you find which are the good candidate features out of lot of data is one of the problems. And you need to have a good candidate of training data to train such supervised learning neural networks. Therefore, it didn't found much traction earlier in 90s. People were doing MTech and PhD. Their supervised learning. Then comes the unsupervised learning. Instead of training the neural network, your neural network starts discovering from the data. Given the data, start discovering information rather than trained by candidate of tagged data. So untagged data, unstructured data is being the neural network is exposed and start learning. And the deep learning, which is now the buzzword today, and the most research point is about deep learning is no pre-processing, no feature vector, no structuring, no pre-processing of the data. It is about large volume of data, quick escalation by the computing machine, by the sensor, by the algorithm, and come out with probably yet undiscovered feature of the entire data. It is discovering knowledge. Therefore, though no unlabeled data, it is about completely unstructured, unlabeled, and huge amount of terabyte of data the machine is exposed into, and it is supposed to come out with some features which are most predetermined, which can describe this data and in a time series manner much better and can predict what the event is about. It is about deep learning. And many deep learning thesis, many deep learning research is right now prevalent. Now having done that, came the transfer learning. As you know, a human being, when a born goes through unsupervised learning, supervised learning, reinforcement learning, and many other type of learning. But the moment it ages, the neural network behaves differently. Even the best of the human beings start losing its memory. So the neural network start degrading. And it seizes when the human seizes at death. So the learning that a human being has cannot transfer to its next generation. It is therefore most of the research which are there still in nascent and has a very mild progress. But unlike that, probably now is the time where a neural network is trained in a particular domain, a deep neural network, that model can be transformed as input to another new neural network. So transfer learning is about transferring the model of a particular domain of a deep neural network to another neural network to be a start point. Think of the capacity, capability, and the magnanimity of such an invention. Therefore, tomorrow the machines tomorrow will have multiple domains, expertise in multiple domains, and they can probably perceive data, event, and probably knowledge from multiple domains and can predict the future. So transfer learning is about previously model neural network and model transport for making multi-domain systems. Now, therefore, making use of this kind of things can be addressed for learning. Means a person who can good at prescribing medicine or yet can play a good cricket and can good at teaching mathematics and yet a very sociable and highly appreciable person. Can we think of such a machine which can solve multiple domain things and yet can keep learning for ages to come? This is about super learning. Can we somebody multiply a 128 bit by 128 bit decimal numbers in a quick fraction of seconds? So what we are talking is about taking all these learnings, how do we make a super learning machine? Probably this is a multi-level perceptron network, a artificially intelligent neural network, and when you want to have such a thing, it's about, can we take that particular domain? That's about, and after that you do quite a lot amount of time these things. Then we have a machine which can directly, if weights are not changed, the model is not marked in a particular domain, not changing, then we pierce through, tunnel through, input to output. Possible, has been done already, a lot of research has been done. Therefore, taking all these neural networks of different domains can put together to theoretically make a machine which can help the neural network with whatever I saw earlier, the different colored, multicolored neural network. That is how can we predict from large volume of seismic data, can you predict, yes, there can be an earthquake maybe 3 seconds earlier, can be 5 seconds earlier. That can be same sort of life. Can a machine with a transfer learning, a super learning, can it predict a seismic probability of a seismic tremor happen at this point of time, much prior? This is not true. Can it say that yes, stock exchange will crash at this time, much prior? Can it tell from a time series of data, can it predict an event in future? This is not yet done, which is not yet solved by the humankind. Yes, it's very much possible. Can it tell accurately predict the weather from New Delhi to Bangalore or New Delhi to New York? Probably a flight is going. At this time, the equipment there will be more benign. Can it predict? Maybe 40 minutes before the aircraft reach. Maybe 20 minutes that the aircraft reach. Extremely possible in future. Making our life more safe. Making us how to avoid and how to deal with hazardous situations, making us more deal with how we can deal with situations which is not predictable by conventional means. Yes, it's possible through super learning. Therefore, a convoluted artificial neural network with multiple domains may look like. I have taken these slides from the internet and from other parts. Means when you can give an image, it can tell you event, okay, this is a cow which is there in the probably one of the part of the world, and this is the type of the cow, and this is the yield of the cow, or this is where it is near to the whatever location. All it can predict. Given an image, it can predict event that is going to happen. Possible. Therefore, as I said, the artificial intelligence, artificial network is about a bunch of machine learning algorithms in various domains supervised, unsupervised learning, transfer learning, and through deep learning, and they can achieve intelligence. The machine can achieve, and its cognition system keep increasing, hence increasing its predictable capability and reasonability. Therefore, a artificial neural network of tomorrow is an superly learned multi-domain neural network which can have its own cognition system constantly updating and its capability constantly increasing and its reasonability going beyond capability of a normal human being. A lot of plenty of applications, many research going on. One of them is about anomaly detection, learning the gesture, disaster prediction, identification and mitigation, speech synthesis, speaker identification. Not only speaker identification, problem solved. Can I just have in between a 3 seconds speech of a person in the world is the person speaking? Can multiple person in a conference speaking to each other, can you find out this particular speaker is present in this congregation? Can we identify a person's presence from a gathering, from the speech data of a gathering? Then motion picture based loss, human, child trafficking, identification, asset monitoring, smart parking, resource utilization, plenty of applications of artificial intelligence right now under solve and going on. I am sure the world in future will have very intelligent machines which can assist human being in many ways, in many capacities. One of the very interesting problem is natural language processing, where you suppose I will say I get a total newspaper of 10 pages and all the headings are not there. I am just posing the question to the audience. Suppose you get a newspaper today and there is no heading, all the topics are there written. Can we label a topic to it? Probably only the editor of the newspaper can do, and he may also fail and take time, but it is possible. Okay? This is a thing on what to back. Can I bring all the words, take out the syntax, take out the gap words, and make a frequency of words and find each of the likely topic of this each of the words? Possible? Using something known as what to back, giving a probability to a topic. And what to back has right now graduated to image to back. Means I can represent each word as a vector in the vector space. Each image in the image space is a vector space. And each of the book, if I take all the books in the library and take out the front pages, the topic is not known, and feed this digital data to a machine, it can tell each of the books their level. Possible. So a book to back is also right now under research. So what to back, speech to back, all are possible when we take into domain. You can see just one of my results I put in the form of I took a book out of that a digital book, and this is how the words in the book look like when I plot it. When I cluster them, about 20,000 plus words. You can see that complete thing. Each of the dots is a word in the book. So you can find distinctly the book is of two different topics. Isn't it two different clusters? So I went ahead in clustering it. You can find many chapters in the book with relevant things. I use K-means clustering and hierarchical clustering. Another book, possible another thing, you can see that. And the clustering. And these are the words. So which word is near to what? Can I say if I say dollar, it's America, it is Puri, it's Orissa, NIT, it's Rourkela. Are these words very nearby? It's a vector space. IEEE conference today, NIT Rourkela. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. And that is about the capability of word to back, predicting the nearness of word in vector space. And therefore, scope of picture research is very plenty. You can have talk to back, word to back, image to back, joint word embedding. If I speak something in English, Hindi, as well as in Odia, can a message make a meaning out of it? I'm sure many of you, if I speak in Odia, English together, and add bit of Hindi, you will not able to make a meaning out of it. I'm sure. And our country is full of multilinguals. We all speak at least 2 languages. Leaving aside our mother language, we have English and Hindi. So if you put, isn't all, many of our, about 90%, 90 crores of Indians will be trilinguals, probably 95% are bilinguals. When they converse, can you understand what they are talking about? Somebody talking in Malayalam and a bit of Hindi. But yes, a machine can. And that study of diverse languages, intelligent mining of and extraction of words, then language continuity, then multi-source unstructured text mining, joint word embedding, all things are possible using natural language processing and deep neural network. And of course, cyber defense is one of the things. I am quickly going through some of things. Please look at the slides. That where we have created a network of IP network with lot of cell phones that coming into the network, lot of IoT coming into the network. Then we have created a massive network of network. It is massive in the sense it is very unprecedented. Therefore, if somebody start putting a virus into it, can somebody predict from where the virus comes from? It must come. How it is going to attack surfaces? Therefore, each time you put something into the network, it has increased its threat profile, its threat surface. Therefore, first detection of some anomalous behavior. It is definitely beyond the action of the most best professional researcher. Therefore, finding up cyber traffic profiling, clustering, anomaly detection, phishing detection, and emerging a counter-attack planning, all this is very, very required for a country like ours. So, AI-based cyber trafficking and profiling and monitoring are very key resource areas, in particular in defense cyberspace. And along that, I think artificially enabled neural network, MIT told that 85% cyber attacks it can predict. It can detect and it can predict. It is all aided by artificial intelligence. And therefore, many this artificial intelligence, maybe aided systems are prevailing at their usage. So one of the very interesting problems of now is simultaneous nuclear and mapping. Can we have a SLAM? Can SLAM act on the moon surface precisely to predict where the moon lander will land? Can we find it? There is no lateral longitude of now. Can we find the XYZ grid of the probably launched vehicle where it lost? Is about SLAM. Can we visualize it where the change in the moon surface is happened? Can we find a lidar profile of that? It's pretty interesting, and AI can probably help the human expert in doing this. Real-time object recognition and tracking, human trafficking analysis. Therefore, if I put it, you can see that temporal images of the same place, how you can find what are the changes happened. From 2D satellite images, how can you find what changes happened and is it a 3D change or not? Across the border, I cannot put a human being all the time to surveillance. Can you find out a new bunker has come, a new military structure has started emerging? Possible? Yes, it is possible. You can see a satellite image, I am sure many of you cannot, those who are not experts in interpretation of the satellite image cannot predict what it is. But yes, it can say there is a linear feature, so probably this is a road. And when a road, this is a curvilinear and polygon kind of structure and doesn't have much regular pattern, so probably a water body. When these two together goes, this is a water body. The artificial neural network learn this is how water body polygon looks like, and the river looks like. You can see this is the river. And this is how a road. Can you say intelligently can a human being predict what is here? A neural network can say, yes, probably there is a culvert here. So there is a possible, there is a bridge here, and the bridge length is this much. A artificial neural network can find out from that degenerated images taken across through a aerial vehicle menu. Similarly, if I were to persist and do a surveillance across the line of control, I cannot put a human being whose life is at stake. Is there any new development happening? Is enemy making a new printer? Is he launching an attack to you? How do I do? Can I put a UAV which will give very less signature to the radar, yet persistently look at that and tell me this is what is happening? It's very possible. You can see a UAV, this is a satellite image, but this is a UAV image. I registered the satellite image, current image within the satellite image, and can find out, yes, something which is clandestinely moving. You all can look at it?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
You can visualize it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can. Yes,
So
we can.
a high-frequency UAV which can constantly in the space can constantly keep on 24 hours, stay at a very particular location. It can look at persistently to a terrain and can register its images which are coming regular interval within satellite image and can find change. Can it detect the object? Can it talk to the object and can persistently can follow the object? Yes, it is all possible. And this is from the possibility I have made this.
Sir, we have 5 minutes.
Yeah, we will finishing. I will finishing as quickly as possible. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and therefore we can tell, okay, this is where the mines are there, this is where the enemy is there, and therefore you should put your resources of weapons and human being and others in such a manner that you can effectively, with the least amount of deployment of resources, you can counter an enemy from the other side and yet can win. Probably that multi-perceptor network, which is super intelligent, I can put in this passage, Edison reality, and can go to a Leh Ladakh and to a hill and can fire the enemy automatically. Is it possible? Yes. It has the perception, it has the aim to engage a target and can identify a target and can identify whether it is a friend or foe and can precisely can do that job. And this is not a human, it is humanoid. Is it? Humanoid. A humanoid is a system, a soldier is a system engaging a target. Yes, possible. Therefore, there is a lot of physical and the other approaches, the campaign to stop the killer robot. But yes, in future, probably robots are manning our borders. It is already unmanned ground vehicles, unmanned space vehicles, unmanned underwater high endurance vehicles. Hundreds are deployed by adversaries in the Mahasat. They are constantly looking at it. If we don't do, they do. Therefore, these are some of the use cases that we do research in care. Because of paucity of time, probably I just take some of things. Therefore, the artificial intelligence, which was earlier, like Dr. Watson's prediction, cancerous, other things, doing artificial narrow intelligence to artificial general intelligence has come to transfer learning, and in future, artificial super intelligence is very much possible. Therefore, to the student community who are looking at it, you can please read the job advertisement. You can see in 2020, I'm sure some job advertisement will come that some campus interview will come and say such percent TB of data, a capability of job profile of a student who can search 10 terabyte of data and detect anomalous behavior and report to the authorities within 20 minutes so that they can action. But this in 2025, maybe it will like the human with a domain specific knowledge and machine assistant which is capable of searching terabyte of data and detect an anomaly within a minute. Probably at the end of the decade it may say in 2030 that a machine which can be trained, which can scan 20 terabyte of data and predict anomaly or event likely to happen not just tell that it's going to happen. Likely to happen within 20 minutes in advance. Possible this kind of job profile are very much possible in future. And I am sure that therefore disruptive and innovation in AI is ongoing. AI has already come. Technology is in making and it happens. AI is possible, doable, very useful and viable also. Very, very viable. Mathematical models, data models, and it's very, very powerful. Therefore, all of our and your digital transformation to AI is inevitable. Therefore, intelligent amplification of machines with better domain-specific knowledge to aided with artificial neural network is possible, and automation of intelligence in machines are the way forward. Therefore, I thank you all for a patient listening. Once again, I apologize that I couldn't make it to the venue, but I hope I could convey whatever I thought about. And I could convey what are the research, kind of research that is ongoing in the doing. Any questions? Samit, you can direct to me.
Yes,
I am ready to answer it. Okay.
Sir, already the GNSS kind of a systems, like geostationary kind of a systems, already have a heavier computation
Yes.
hyperspectral or hyperspectral or multispectral imaging. If we combine with this neural networks, then it increases a lot more computation. So then, how can we reduce the computation power for onboard computers like some satellites and all?
Yeah. As of now, to compare the situation, both hyperspectral, multispectral, RGB, and all the images obtained by satellites are fused together, brought to a center, fused together, and artificially enabled systems are analyzing and predicting some of the change and finding out some actionable intelligence. Ultimately, the human in loop is taking a decision whether friend or foe. Yes, it is possible and it is happening right now. And some of the systems are deployed in other countries, but our systems are under, you can say, evaluation for possible deployment. I hope I have answered you. I could perceive your question advanced and answered appropriately.
Any more questions?
Okay,
Yes,
good
Manish, go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. It was an amazing talk. So in the middle, you talked about use of AI for cyber defense. So if I'm not wrong, what usually happens is the AI system would be looking for particular words from a heap of data, like say for example, bomb or terrorist or so on and so forth. So when you have a network that looks out for such particular words, how do you differentiate between a real threat and a misfire? Because a lot of times people have conversations where they joke about these things. So how do you differentiate between the two?
I think this is the particular NLP question that you have asked, that the variation in the word, the way we speak, the way we write, and the way we pronounce it. Also, the words embedded in various literature giving various meanings. But yes, this ambiguity is already has been resolved by NLP. And NLP gives a very apt 99.999% of meaningful and keywords spotting in speech as well as video or unstructured text right now are very good algorithms that deep neural networks has come up. It's possible.
Okay.
So probably word embedding and word to back are the solutions. Therefore, in the vector space, the ambiguity of a word is resolved to a great extent, where the vectors are almost, cos inverse v1 v2 by v dot v2 is almost 1, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Right. All the best for your presentation, both of you.
Thank you, sir. We wish you were here.